This podcast is produced by Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. The Collective Us, an NMCAA podcast, focuses on inspiring you through stories of those we've helped through our programming or by linking local resources to community members in need. Join us as we learn about the programs offered through NMCAA and how we touch people's lives every day.
Welcome back to The Collective Us. I'm Ryan Buck.
And I'm Erica Austin. It's nice to be back in the studio. Today we are talking early education and its importance even before your child hits the traditional preschool age.
Before we get started, let's introduce our guests today. First, we have Corey Berden, Early Head Start Manager. Welcome.
Hello.
And with her, we have Tammy Risteau. Is that correct?
You got it.
All right. Early Head Start Education Coach. And both of you are with our Child and Family Development Department with NMCAA. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
So, National Parents as Teacher Day. This is exciting. This takes place in November each year. It's a day to recognize the organizations that offer educational services to parents. Yeah, see? Hold for a while across the country and around the world so they may be able to better support their children's learning and growth. I think that's extraordinary.
Yeah. So National Parents as Teachers Day acknowledges the important role that parents play in the initial education of their child's life. Every child learns their first lessons at home. The concept of parents as teachers was recognized in the 1970s in Missouri when educators noticed children were beginning kindergarten at varying levels of school readiness. The program expanded in the 1990s to all 50 states and 6 other countries. So keeping that in mind, Corey, you're the Early Head Start Manager at NMCAA. Can you fill our listeners in on what Early Head Start is, including both home-based and center-based?
Yes, I am most familiar with home-based, but Early Head Start, it just encompasses so much. So we're coming into the home for about an hour and a half each week, and we're working with the families. So instead of being the teacher, we're really the coach. We're just there to facilitate, and we plan the activities with the family the week before. Not only that, once we do that we facilitate the activity, it's always that parent-child interaction and just pointing out the strengths of the parent so that they know that they're doing a really great job. And we're only there an hour and a half, which is like, I think 0.008% of that week. Very small amount. And so we understand that they need to continue that while we're gone. So we use materials in the home, and then they're able to continue that activity as extension activities. And the really great thing is that's considered volunteer hours for our in-kind, which supports 25% of our funding. So the work they're doing is actually supporting our program. But not only are we looking at education, the really great thing is we're looking at family wellness. And so we're setting family goals, we're setting child goals. And so if they're needing resources, if a family is in crisis, then we can help them with resources to find housing or get that electric bill paid, working with NMCAA, all of the programs there. So we really encompass the whole family and whoever they feel is part of their family. It doesn't mean that it has to be, okay, this is mom, this is dad, like grandma's part of my family and she's in the home with the family, so she might sit in on those.
Wow, that's really cool.
Once again, there's so much to unpack there. It's customized.
Yep.
It's not one solution fits all. It's per the family. And that's astounding. That just keeps coming up on the show and throughout NMCAA. And that's really amazing. But as Early Head Start Manager, what does your role entail? What's some of the fun minutia? And was management or leadership always part of the goal?
It was not part of my goal. I was a home visitor for many years with Early Head Start. I started out my career in home visiting with a prevention program with Families First. And I fell in love with home visiting. I had an office job for 3 months where I was a domestic abuse counselor. And I was like, this is like, I just can't be sitting in this office. I want to go run around on these home visits. And so I absolutely loved that. But then it just felt like I moved into a supervisory position and I felt like I was able to reach more families by supporting the staff that were going into the homes. And then management was probably last on my list, but just really wanting to see that program improvement. We always want to see our program grow. And so that's kind of where I landed, and I really enjoy it.
So, but day to day, like what is you don't have to get into too many specifics, but what does the rest of your day look like after this fun little enterprise?
Well, interestingly enough, I work in Atlanta, so it's an hour and a half drive back to the office.
Okay, there you go.
So I drive a lot. I spend a lot of time in meetings. Like we just finished up self-assessment. We're working on our 5-year grant and setting the school readiness goals. I look at a lot of data so that we can improve our program. Right now, we're trying to find the best way to provide attendance when maybe there's a staff vacancy, and so who can fill in. And so just a lot of brainstorming with other staff and problem solving to provide the best services that we can to the families that we serve.
So a lot of big things, a lot of little things, and a lot of things in between.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, I have to point out before we get too much further, I'm incredibly impressed by the longevity of the employees within NMCAA. Corey, you've been with NMCAA for 22 years and Tammy for 27 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can you each take a moment to tell us what keeps you waking up each day excited about this work?
I'm just excited about, well, when I worked with the families, it was exciting to see the change. And it's exciting to see the change with the home visitors and what they're experiencing with families and the growth and just sharing with staff my knowledge and my expertise and being a support for them. I think that's the part that I love the most. And that's what I loved about home visiting was that support and seeing that growth.
Mm-hmm. And Corey?
I'm very lucky to be able to share office space with another education coach, her partner, and then 2 home visitors, and to be able to walk into the office and hear the success stories of the families and how good those staff members feel leaving a home where they've seen maybe growth in the child or growth in the family. Maybe they met a family goal. Maybe the child, maybe we work with children with disabilities. Maybe they've made some growth. Or even I had a staff member talk to me about some parents, they were outside a lot. And she said, I wonder what it would look like if you made some outside space so that kids are out here with you. And it took like a month, but then she said, I went there and there was outside space and the family was out there doing their thing, but the kids were right there. And it was really amazing. So these small seeds that our home visitors plant, they really make a huge difference in the
That's
lives
so
of the
great.
And
children.
it looks like both of you are driven by seeing that impact and being with people in however uncomfortable some situations can be. You both seem to be okay with anything, but the improvement and seeing that joy in their faces is what drives you both. Like Corey, you said you couldn't just sit in that office, so you need to be out. Yeah.
That's amazing. So I'd like to take a minute to recognize a few more NMCAA milestone career achievements. This month we have 2 employees celebrating 5-year career achievements. So first I'd like to recognize Tina Manor with our business office, and second, Maggie Wheelock with Child and Family Development. Congratulations to both of them, and thank you for all the hard work you do.
That's amazing. Especially, and again, congratulations to you both. That comes up a lot on the show.
Incredible.
The tenure and longevity, it's fickle. Most people have, 9, 10, 12 different jobs in their lifetime.
Yeah.
And to have that is incredible. So congratulations to everybody. But a big part of the home-based early Head Start program is the Child and Family Specialist.
Mm-hmm.
And Tammy, can you provide some background on, what the visit looks like for a child and family specialist and what does the role kind of entail? What does it take to do it?
Well, it's partnering with those families. It's really, coming in and sharing that they're the expert in their child, not the home visitor. So,
Is that tough to establish right away?
Sure
Do you
is.
sometimes walk in and it may be a welcome thing, but there's a little bit of tension?
Absolutely. A lot of times they come in and they think, well, your teacher's here, when really we want them to know you're the teacher. You're the child's first and most
you said
important
coach,
teacher.
and Corey, you said that too.
Right.
So specifically, you try to use the nomenclature to help distinguish that.
Right. It's a partnership. You're coaching, right? And that's you partner together to plan activities for their child. They'll set child development goals, family goals, and you partner with them, sharing that parenting knowledge. We call them parenting behaviors in PAT because we know that certain parenting behaviors help children learn and develop for better child outcomes. And it just gives parents confidence in their parenting and child development knowledge. So we're there as home visitors to support them the whole step of the way. Maybe it's even family well-being, something that they want to know more about, relationships, community events, or resources. Or
It feels like the poise and the patience you need for a role like this, specifically Tammy and yours, you need a lot of it. How much knowledge and advanced knowledge do you have ahead of a home visit? Corey mentioned that there could be a grandmother living at home. Do you ever walk into a home and have a few surprises that you have to pivot? And what kind of training do you have or is it just the 20 plus years that helps you have that poise?
I think it is. There's all kinds of situations that you're not prepared for, but I think your experience, and as you encompass these new, experiences, and we have, if it's something that's hard to handle or wrap your brain about, you have supports within the agency. You have your coach, you have, your site supervisor, we have reflective. So you do run into a lot of situations, and that's okay too, though. Every family is different, and it may not be what your family culture was, but it's theirs, and that's okay.
So you have to take into account a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
You said culture. There could be religion involved. There could be life circumstances. There could be anything involved, and you just have to understand. Do you get as much information as you can ahead of time, or are you ever going into these kind of with 20% of the info that you need, and then you're having to discover the rest?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty much that way. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Typically. Okay, so...
Typically. You are really getting to know each other.
Yeah.
They're getting to know you, and you're getting to know them.
It's very difficult to get to know a family on a piece of paper. And so, yep, we have the application, and we know we have a lot of information, but walking into that home and seeing who they are you don't see that on paper.
Yeah. So you almost have to be a home visitor. You almost have to have a little bit of a grit to, you want to see the impact, and you're there because you love seeing the impact of these families, but you also have to be strong enough to handle some situations. I don't want to get into too many details, but I'm curious, what are some of these harder situations that you might run into, if you don't mind me asking?
I think that is a tough one because all of our families are so different, and I think it's easier for me to think about their strengths than be like, we're walking into this, because the things we're walking into might be poverty. There could be mental health issues. There could be addiction issues. Obviously not with all of our families by any means, but you walk into the homes and their honesty, I think, is always what surprises me, because they really want us there and they want the best for their children.
Yeah.
And so no matter what we walk into, if you remember, these parents are part of our program because they want the best for their children.
They signed up for it.
This is a voluntary program. If you can remember that, you'll see the strengths.
Yeah.
And there's so many strengths to see with our families.
That's really, I just got goosebumps, you guys talking.
Always let them know I'm not there to judge their dishes in their sink or their piles of laundry that need to be folded. Come over to my house. I do too, right?
Right.
That's not what I'm there for. Yeah. I'm there as a partner.
Well, so you clearly established that you're a person too, and everybody has the same mission in mind, and that's good to remind each other and move forward that way.
Sure do. A lot until you build that relationship.
Yeah. So Tammy, you're about a year into your new role as an education coach.
Yes.
And so you were you just a family visitor or a home visitor?
Oh my goodness.
Before
I've
that?
had so many different roles.
Tell us about your journey through NMCAA and why and where you're now, if that's where your career path felt right for you.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, I started out, I knew I always wanted to work with kids, right? And start out with college classes. And then I was a young mom, 20 years old. I had my daughter. And I got her into a Head Start, traditional Head Start classroom, and I volunteered. And so I'm volunteering, and I was on policy council, and I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with the agency and the teaching staff. And I thought, that is exactly what I want to do. So I actually got my foot in the door and was hired as a transition aide. Yeah, in the classroom, helping in my daughter's room. And I helped cook. I'm not a cook. That was interesting. And so I was doing that and riding the buses and just helping out where it was needed. And I just had lots of support from the agency to keep, going to school. And I did. And I got my CDA, and then I kept going and, other classes and early childhood. And I applied for an assistant teacher position, got it. And then I was part of the teaching staff in classroom. And so I was in a classroom setting for 17 years or so. And as a teacher, teaching staff, we have home visits. And home visiting really opens your eyes to, the child behaviors or whatever's going on in the classroom. You might have a child that has difficulty setting to eat. We eat family style in classrooms. Yeah. And why can't this child sit and eat? Well, you get to the home visit and you realize they don't have table and chairs. So that's something, the importance of eating a meal together, maybe finding resources to get them a table and chairs. So I really love that home visiting piece. And a position came, child family specialist position became available, and I applied and got it. So I was in that role for about 9 years. But I always wanted to I always saw myself in that coaching role. Just sharing my expertise, my knowledge, partnering with staff.
Yeah.
As they set goals and are working with families. Yeah. And it's rewarding.
I love this story so much because you hear it again and again how parents who have their children enrolled in a program, whether it's Early Head Start or GSRP, they're volunteering in the classroom, they become an aide, they become, an assistant teacher, and you have gone so far. And what I don't remember, was it 27 years? It's amazing. So awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a journey. And,
Yeah.
and having NMCAA be there along the way. And that's a very wonderful reason to start, your own child. Yeah. And that's come up a lot too.
Yeah.
You have a tie to it. And
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I assume there's some way to get signed up for Early Head Start, talking about that. And potentially there are some eligibility requirements. Can you talk about those?
Yes. So we have a pre-application on NMCAA.net. And then we also have phone numbers. If you call any of the offices, they'll get you in touch with the right person. But the pre-app is usually the easiest way to get started for our program. And it's families with children birth to 3. And we also serve pregnant moms, expectant families too. So 90% of our families are under the federal poverty level. But it doesn't mean that if you have a higher income that you can't be part of our program. So basically, if you're interested in the program, it's worth applying because we can take 10% that are over income. It's not a first come, first serve. It goes by a wait list according to need. So the higher the family needs, the more likely they are to get in.
Okay. That's really interesting.
Yeah. It's good to know. And the fact, and that comes up a lot too, if you have a question, connect with NMCAA. Like if you don't think, just at least reach out to us and we can advise you or get you somewhere else. So please just reach out to NMCAA, even if you have a question.
Yeah. So obviously we know that both of you with your longevity, you have passion for this home-based learning. And in the pre-production notes that you guys had sent me, I could feel it in your notes that you are both just very passionate about the program. So, and the goal with Early Head Start is to support the parent and the families as a whole. So this is kind of a theme we've been seeing throughout our child and family development programs. You said realistically, one child could be in the home-based program for 3 to 4 years. So I'm assuming that these child and family specialists really become a key person in these families' lives, even though you said you're only there like an hour and a half every week. Do you have any great family stories that you encounter? And I'm sure you get to see huge strides in development as these families grow from 0 to 3. How does that, can you put into words how that feels or what that amazing?
Proud,
Yeah.
You are. I, as a home visitor, I had a very young mom, teen mom. I was with her when her oldest was 2, so almost ready to transition out to preschool, their next education setting, which we do help with. And so I had them, and then she was pregnant. But she still really felt like she could use some more support. So I was able to keep her and pick her up as a pregnant mom. So, yeah, and I was with her from pregnancy all the way up until that child then transitioned into preschool. Wow. And the growth I saw in this mom, in this family, was amazing. And you know that she is teaching today?
Oh my gosh.
This mom?
This mom.
Is a teacher today.
She is in early childhood. She said, I want to do what you do. And she went to school.
There
I
we
know,
go.
right? I'm so
Yeah.
proud. Yes. And so she did it. I helped her. We talked about what that would look like. She set goals around, her family goals around this. And she got enrolled into college and took classes at a time. And I talked to her not that long ago, and she's teaching.
That's amazing.
Well, and speaking about that, Tammy, in the pre-production notes, you noted that you use parents as teachers curriculum. Is that a real thing?
It's a real thing.
It is?
So-
Wow. How new is that as a concept?
We've been using parents as teachers since I've been here as a home
Okay.
visitor, so that's a long time.
Okay.
So this is a concept that's been around, but I'd not
Yeah.
heard of it that way. And I'm, married to
Yeah.
a teacher.
Yeah, it was interesting because Parents as Teachers Day, I was like, they even know our curriculum.
Yeah.
I was very impressed. But then I was like, oh, wait, that's different. But yes, so Parents as Teachers, and so you kind of asked about the training. So all of our staff go through a Parents as Teachers training. It's 7 days now, I think.
7 days.
It's an intense training, and it's amazing. And it really, there's a whole website that once you're a parent, once you have that training, that's where you find the activities that you can introduce to parents. So if as a mom, I'm like, my child's really interested in motor development, I'm not really sure what to do next, that the home visitor can say, these are some of the activities that we might be able to do. These are the materials we need. And then they partner together for that next week. So the curriculum is really, it's a phenomenal curriculum. We've looked at other curriculums and we really like this one. And we've even talked with staff years ago and nope, this is what we want to stay with. And we just recently became a Parents as Teacher partner. And so that just means that they ensure fidelity for the Office of Head Start and making sure that we're meeting our performance standards. So they're very connected. They understand our early learning outcomes framework. They understand what Head Start needs are different than other program needs because Parents as Teachers curriculum is used for other programs also. But a lot of early Head Start programs use Parents as Teachers. So that's up.
I didn't think about the ancillary benefit to a family in using that, Tammy, your story about what you gave to that mom that helped her in her life, and what an unexpected benefit. She may not have been looking for inspiration from you, but you provided it just by doing what you do. And now she, was probably just focused on being pregnant and raising another child.
Right.
And now is an educator herself. That's really, really extraordinary.
It was fun to, watch her grow. I mean, she didn't really understand. She knew it was education, right? But she had that idea that I was coming in as a teacher. And just having her plan the activities, understanding child development, and building her confidence in her parenting, and being involved in her children's learning. And watching her grow and come up with all kinds of fun activities to teach her children with things right in the home. And that's what PAT curriculum encompasses, using materials already in the home. You don't have to go out and buy all these new gadgets or this.
I'm curious, can you give us a couple of examples of like activities that you might do?
Sure. All right. A really great one that families really love is what we call chips in a can. So you could take like a coffee can with the plastic lid or a tall Pringles can and you just make a slit. So you're working on eye-hand coordination and fine motor skills and problem solving too. So you might start out with cutting a hole in this and then taking they have those round poker chips or popsicle sticks or playing cards, and they have to fit them in that hole.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that slit. And if you use popsicle sticks, then you can extend it by coloring them. Now you're going to talk about colors or counting them as they're putting them in. And
Yeah.
That's so fun. I have 2 young kids, and when I was a stay-at-home parent before I came to NMCAA, I did lots of fun things like that as well. But I wasn't part of this program, but I just happened to find things like that, online, trying to keep my kid entertained.
Yeah.
But that's so
what a
fun.
resource and a gift just to have something that's gives them some time, but is educational or gives them something.
Yeah.
Because there's a point where they're like, wait a second, I'm learning. I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, it is so fun because you'll come in and, they have their baby and you're talking about school readiness goals and they're looking at you like, school readiness goals already, and yeah.
That's a word a youngster likes to hear, goals.
Exactly.
And I was
go
just say,
ahead.
in addition to our home visits, we also offer in each county 2 play groups a month. And so
Oh.
that's where our enrolled or even our waitlist family, even community members can come in. And we have parents as teachers activities and just space for parents to just have that hour and a half to interact. We have family style snack also. So I just want to mention that's an
Yeah,
addition
no,
to
that's
our
awesome.
program,
I
too.
wasn't aware of that.
It's there that comes up so much. You look at the family and their situation as a whole, and you don't just focus on this thing. If there's something else, you will address it, like a table, if the family doesn't have a table and chairs. And that's just, to me, is really impressive and necessary, that you don't just focus on your area. You will take care of this family, whatever they may need, as you can, which is amazing.
Yeah. I'm curious, going back to the playgroup thing, do we have a set schedule somewhere that we can find online?
Let me talk to my socialization specialist. So we have 2 socialization specialists, and I know that through our app Learning Genie, we get it out there. We do have a calendar for each county, but the socializations are different for each county. So there's
Okay.
10 different calendars.
Okay. So the listeners will have to look that up or give us a call to find more information.
Absolutely. We can get more
Okay.
information.
Okay, perfect. As a child and family specialist, I know that this isn't either of your roles, but you both have done this role. And so it's a very vital, important part of your program. So what kind of goals are you helping parents set as a child and family specialist? Is it like your kid is now doing, I don't know, XYZ, or what kind of things are you trying to help them with?
So we have, it's called TS Gold Assessments. And so ongoing, our home visitors are making observations of what the children are doing. And then each quarter, they're able to take this report, and it's family friendly, and say, this is where your child is, and this is what they'll be doing next. What might you like to focus on? And so again, really parent driven. So this is the information that we have. And they might say, no, they're already doing that. Okay, then let me change that, and let's look at that next piece. So
Yeah, they may set, language goals, communication, that back and forth conversation, asking questions,
Yeah.
gesturing, whatever it may be. It could be anything. It could be.
But you also, there are specific goals, right? As you may enter a home, you may put a goal together that's specific to that family or that situation too. So you don't limit yourself, but there are a criteria that you also go to as well, correct?
it is really family driven. So any child
Oh, wow.
development goal that they, it could be that child is lower in language, but the parents, they're interested in motor development. I want to do a motor development goal.
Gotcha. Oh, sure.
So
Wow.
Right.
We're
Okay.
really going to follow their lead on that.
Wow.
Okay.
Wonderful. Directed by them.
Absolutely.
They're their
Absolutely.
child, right? They
Yeah.
know their child best. They know where they want them to go. So.
And what we see in that hour and a half could be completely different than what they're seeing the rest of the week, So they are always, your child best, what their needs are.
Yeah. So I'm curious, this program covers all 10 counties, is that correct? And so how many child and family specialists do we have? How many families do they see? Maybe I should have asked you this prior to the recording today, but
Yeah,
We are up to 233 families across our 10 counties.
wow.
We have, I want to say, close to 25 home visitors, probably 24. They each have 10 families per caseload. So they're
Okay.
seeing 10 families every week. We
Wow.
do have part-time staff that have 5 families,
Okay.
but most of ours are full-time.
Wow. That's incredible. If someone were interested in doing this child and family specialist role, is there anything that they are required education-wise to be in that role?
Yeah, they would either have to have a home visiting CDA. So you have the classroom CDA, there's a home visiting CDA. They would either need to have that, or they would need to have an associate's degree
Okay.
And the associate's degree could really, depending on what classes they took, as long as there were enough classes with child development
Sure.
that would cover what might be in a home visiting CDA, then we could do that. Many of
Okay.
our CFSs have bachelor's degrees also.
There's a lot of teachers that come from a classroom in the CFS role.
Okay. So if listeners are interested, they can, I think I see this role come through in our internal email quite often.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
That it's open. So,
Yes.
so if anybody's interested, then they can go to nmcaa.net and apply if they qualify. Is that something that we could help them with education wise if they didn't qualify or if they weren't qualified?
It's dependent.
Okay.
To our performance standards, we do have some limits, but it's always worth looking into and finding out what we can do to help them get where they want to be, for sure.
Awesome.
And another, educationally, we have that parents as teachers training. When we do hire new staff, we have a family service credential training, and that really focuses on more that family piece, setting family goals, just the strength focused, really understanding each family has a different culture within their home and that respect and honoring that. And so each of our home visitors that we hire within the first 18 months, they go through a 9-day training over 4 months. And that's pretty amazing too. And I'm one of the trainers along with Emily Irwin and Rebecca Schichtel and Larissa Galniers. And so we have trainers right within our agency that do that training.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well poised, well prepared. And I do have to ask, you talked about, alumni. Do you have families who, once they become untethered to you and you have moved on, check back in like, listen, can you come back just for one, please? Or do you have to?
It's so common. Yeah. When you build those relationships, it's hard to just say, okay, goodbye. You're potentially with them 3+ years. It just depends, and you do build connections. And I have had so many families just reach out just to say, hey, this is what's going on. Or can you believe it? So-and-so is this old now. And it is amazing to see where they're at.
So you look at that as notches of pride rather than an indication of time passing. You go, that's another family taken care of and in a better place than they would have been without our help.
Yes. And they're so excited to share where they're at. And it's fun. It is.
That's so cool. I think that maybe I'm really silly, but I used to love going back to my old teachers,
Right, yeah.
and be like, hey, I'm in this grade now, kind of thing, which is really silly, but I feel like that's kind of the same thing. It's like, you want these people to be proud of you.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I think it's the same even in the classroom. You still build connections with those parents and children. And, if you're in a school, like some of the teachers see those kids come back and give hugs. And parents will pop in the classroom and say, hi, remember us? So.
That's what makes it more engaging because you are dealing and interacting with the family and looking at it holistically and realizing that one solution doesn't fit all. And 3 years, that's a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time.
And your personality is so effervescent. I can't imagine anybody wouldn't bond with you immediately. So I get that it would be hard to separate from you, Tammy.
Thank you so much.
And if I'm in need, Tammy should be able to help. If someone was interested in checking out Early Head Start at NMCAA, how can they do that?
They can go on our NMCAA website, and we have brochures that talk a little bit about our program. We have flyers out there. They can just pick up the phone and, again, call NMCAA, and they can get you in touch with the right person because it is really intimidating to invite a stranger into your home. And so it's really, so if it's something that you are considering and maybe you want to talk to a home visitor in that area and say, tell me more about your program. We have recruitment specialists that do all of our applications, and I think they're all past home visitors. They're amazing. So they know all of the programs, center-based, home-based, our collaborative partners. And so they can share a little bit of what happens in those home visits.
And honing in on that just a little bit further, because, and this is on me, I'm projecting this outward, is that I think about the individuals and the families who are not reaching out because they're embarrassed of their dishes or whatever. There's just a barrier. So what would you say to them just a little further about not being intimidated, the people who are just not calling? What are the barriers that are in front of them and how can they maybe clear them?
Our home visitors are amazingly kind. They come into the homes and they are so non-judgmental. I feel like we've all had bad days in our life, and we know what it's like because we're working with other families. I think, like you had said, what's the significance of the home visitors? They are absolutely, the families are the most important part, but then our staff, our home visitors, they're right out there and they care so much for our families. They do. These bonds that they have. I remember we were doing an interview, and whenever we do interviews, we always have a parent sitting on the interview. And the question I always say, would you want this person to come into your home? And it was what the parent that was sitting in on the interview, and she looked at her home visitor that was also sitting in on the interview, and she said, she just went into this long story about how she was so worried that she would care about her dishes or the messy house, and this home visitor came in and was so kind, and she just started crying at the interview about just how good this home visitor made her feel. And I hear that story over and over again. There is not a home visitor that I would not welcome into my home and know they would do nothing but point out the strengths I had, no matter how messy my house was or what I had going on in my house. They're just there to support you in doing the best for your child and for yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you stating that. I worry about the people who don't call because of something that may be just easily talked out or easily if they just hear the right thing. So Corey, well done.
Yes. So is there any way to, obviously we have the staff, but is there a way to volunteer within the program? Is there, obviously donations are probably welcome. Do we get donations for Early Head Start? And if so, where should people reach out if they were interested?
A lot of times I think the donations might be families that their children have outgrown their clothes, and so they'll donate them, and we'll a lot of times have them at play groups for families to take home. So it's just a great community thing.
Yeah.
In the southern counties, I can't remember if it was Wexford or Misaki County, they actually had just so much stuff that they had a swap meet and families came and either brought stuff or didn't bring anything and just left with stuff. And
that's amazing.
And it was a recruitment event so that we got more families signed up. It's amazing.
A swap meet
fun
doesn't
stuff.
come up enough. What a cool community thing we used to do.
Yeah.
We should talk about marketing something like that. I could drop off some of my kids' clothes.
Absolutely.
That's
Swap
amazing.
meets and bartering. We don't do bartering enough.
Yeah.
Before we wrap things up today, I want to get both of your answers on this question. It's our favorite question to ask. So if you had one wish for the Early Head Start program, what would it be and why?
It doesn't have to be realistic or either. So you can have fun with this.
You know, I wish that every income level, although it's available to all, we don't have enough slots and we can only take so many over income. I wish everyone had the opportunity to have Early Head Start because it's just an amazing program. And I think about even with my kids, I'm like, I was doing this. I was a home visitor when my kids were born. And I was like, I wish somebody was coming in to tell me I was doing a good job. It is so hard to be a parent. And so my dream would be that everybody had a home visitor coming in and being your cheerleader, because that's what our home visitors are. They're cheerleaders. And so
That's my answer. That is exactly what I was going to say.
I'm glad
Everyone.
that you said that, though, because as I'm sitting here listening to you guys, I'm like, man, I have a 4.5-year-old and an almost 2-year-old. And I'm like, I wish somebody was telling me I was doing a good job. So I think that's amazing.
I remember being a new mom and getting those parenting magazines, right?
Yeah.
Just trying to read what I could, about child development and different things.
Yeah.
And so it was so nice having someone come in and just walking beside you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really.
And
That's a great
sharing.
way to put it. Walking beside you. I feel like that's exactly what this program does. Ryan, do you want to ask your question?
Oh, okay. Well, we'll ask it to both of you. If you could have any celebrity spokesperson for the Early Head Start program, who would it be? Now, this is somebody who is advocating. It could be social media, commercials, celebrity spokesperson.
Well, I have an 18 and 20-year-old daughters.
Okay.
Taylor Swift. For
That's
sure.
what I was going to say, too.
Tammy,
No, I'm
we're
not
like
kidding.
this.
I was going to say Taylor Swift because my
I'm so sorry.
granddaughter.
You are so aligned. Do you
Loves-
see what's happening here?
I know. I think she doesn't believe me. But seriously, because I was thinking she's Taylor Swift songs. And
I should have let you go first.
everybody loves Taylor
You know what? You're the second group that has said Taylor Swift. And I believe it was Was it Drew?
I think it was.
Oh,
Drew.
yeah.
I think
Kidding.
Drew
Yeah.
also mentioned Taylor Swift.
So, Taylor,
Which
this
was
is trending
yes.
here at NMCAA.
I think we need to reach
Get
out
at
to
us.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I'm just fascinated by that because it is a fun question to ask, but you never know. You put those things out into the universe. But that's a good one. There's good reach. That's somebody who does a lot of kindness, right? So that's pretty cool. That's awesome.
I'm on board with that.
Corey and Tammy, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your passion, your stories, your expertise, and your years of service to NMCAA. This is just extraordinary.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And don't forget that we'd like to share your community stories regarding NMCAA. If you have a story you'd like to share about how NMCAA has impacted your life, send us an email at collectiveuspodcast@nmcaa.net. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, please hit the like, follow, and share buttons. It truly helps us continue to get the word out on all the good NMCAA does in the community. And if you would like to learn more about Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency or the programs we offer, or would like to make a donation, we encourage you to reach out at 231-947-3780 or visit our website, nmcaa.net. And to our listeners today, we encourage you to continue to strive each day to do something to help yourself or your neighbors.